But if you kind of need to reset and have quick appetite suppression, instead of doing the melanotan 2 or the Adderall, it might be better just to do tesofensine for a few days. It's difficult to bring something new, right?
Yeah, there's not a lot of new stuff out there.
No, I remember when I started talking about semaglutide and tirzepatide, and even though the blue-collar bodybuilders are like, fuck this shit, you need to control your appetite, it is a game changer for a lot of people. And I know many pros that are using it right now, and they're also in a good mood. I had to add in the tirzepatide, though, because this methylene blue and SLU and mirabegron combination made me freaking hungry.
Oh, wow.
Uncontrollable. I was thinking about food all day, and it's like, why am I thinking about food when I need to think about making money or doing research?
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Because I see, right, there's a very common link between the appetite being disordered and people that struggle with fat loss. So it might not be the best compound for someone that really struggles with appetite to begin with.
Right. So you either throw in the tirzepatide, retatrutide, or semaglutide, whatever you prefer, or the tesofensine. Dean?
Yeah,
There you go.
last week, so I've yet to do like a social post on the last week's fast. So obviously we talked about there, the milk protein allergy added 17 pounds of fluid to me on holiday. And when I got back, I was like that. And when I took pictures, I literally, and I shared it in the group of you guys, it looked like I'd done about 6 weeks of dieting in the space of 3 with all the fluid that washed off. Yeah. And I knew it was fluid. I could see my weight going up, and I said to Morgan, that's the milk protein that I'm eating. But when you're on vacation and you're trying to we hired bikes. Imagine trying to cycle a bike for 2 hours with, no fat in your glutes. So I was sort of happy that there was a bit of cushioning. But I knew from a visual perspective that this needs to be taken care of. So easiest way, just do a fast, let your gut deal with the inflammation and clear it out. Yep. So I got tesofensine, and for 3 of the days of the 86-hour fast, it was like 4.5 days, I took 500 micrograms upon wake. My God, I have never experienced, for one thing, the brain clarity, because it's coming at your brain angle from basically being a dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So you've got pretty much the 3 main, neurotransmitters to speak, raised in your brain. So first off, you've got no appetite, because, in terms of when you get deep into a fast, you get sort of into like 36 hours into a long fast, your appetite just disappears. And, when you break, normally what I say is when you get to about hour 40, 42, when your liver starts burning off the last bit of glycogen, once you get over that hurdle, your appetite is gone. Unless you have like severe food focus, mental disordered eating, your appetite goes. Once you're into proper like sort of ketosis, you don't think about food, or you have no inclination to eat unless you really desire it. At that point, the tesofensine just took over, and mentally, complete stimulation to your brain from the dopamine aspect. The serotonin had you feeling content. The norepinephrine had you feeling calm. It was just, I can see why people are, caution against the use of it. Definitely something that I would not take every single day, and probably not even multiple times per week. But it was an experience, to say the least.
Did you combine it with methylene blue, or one or the other?
No, I just stuck with Teso for that day. You'd be tempted to think, okay, well, what happens if I had another layer of,
I would advise against it.
So, and that's why, even when things like this become available, you really need to understand, how your brain potentially may cope with it, or what's going to happen when you take these things. So it's great that we speak about these things, but there's always the air of caution that some of it is intrigue, like with retatrutide. I took retatrutide last year after we trialed it with Morgan, and I seen all this sort of appetite suppression with Morgan. I thought, well, let's see what happens if a bodybuilder utilizes it. And after 4 weeks, again, I lost 6% body weight, but my appetite, and I have a story highlight on Instagram of the few weeks that I tried it. That again was just intrigue. Oh, here's a new class of molecules that comes at the 3 different receptors. It's great when you sort of look at things, and this is why I often said, you can look at all the mechanisms, you can in theory apply these things, but unless you practically use something, you can't really speak on experience of how it's actually going to affect someone. So it's not to be a guinea pig, but it's more intrigue of, well, what's that going to do, and the curiosity. So the Tesofensine bottle is sitting on my shelf there with whatever it is, 27 capsules still in the 30 capsule tub. So that's going to sit there, for a while. It's not something that I'm going to reach for every day or every week. That it was interesting to see how it would aid with a fast, and it done exactly what I thought it would do without having to use like a GLP agonist or a GIP out like tirzepatide or erythritide. But again, you've got the other side. We'll get probably into with trenbolone and stuff like that. If you start adding these things in where you're preventing dopamine reuptake, and you've got something that's amplifying dopamine even more, you could be setting yourself up for chaos, put it lightly.
Yeah, I can imagine. What I did like about tesofensine is that it's acute, whereas with tirzepatide and erythritide, it takes some time to build up. So if you do decide to do a fast after a holiday, for example, to kind of clean out and reset your intestinal tract and get rid of all the bloating and the dirty food that you had, then this is probably a better solution, because 2 or 3, maybe 4 days, it's reasonably doable. There's no withdrawal after that. Obviously, if you take it every day in combination with trenbolone, there might be issues. But if you kind of need to reset and have quick appetite suppression, instead of doing the melanotan-2 or the Adderall, it might be better just to do tesofensine for a few days. But for long-term appetite suppression, I would still prefer erythritide or tirzepatide, because the GIP and the glucagon might have some overlapping fat loss benefits, which you don't get with tesofensine. And again, long-term use can be, the withdrawal symptoms kind of bad.
Dean, how low are you bringing your calories before appetite gets really crazy?
For me, well, currently now I'm on 3,400 training day, and rest day is at 3,200.
Okay. And what are you calculating maintenance at?
Before we sort of came into this diet phase, I was holding like 92, 93 kilos, so at 205, 206 on 4,200. So when we sort of came into this prep with Callum, I told him this is what I'm eating currently. I'm holding this body weight pretty consistently. So we dropped it down about whatever 700, 800 calories. Okay. And we've not had to drop my calories at all this prep, if you want to even call it that way. That we haven't had to steps have stayed at 10,000 steps all the time, 20 minutes cardio. So everything that sort of helped throughout this prep of me getting leaner and leaner is the mitochondrial efficiency stack, if you want to put it that way, as opposed to let's take a sledgehammer and force my body to burn body fat. But I guess I have been extremely lean in the past. That my set point for body fat loss is quite low anyway. That it doesn't take much to coax me back down to what I've lost in the past, and I didn't really gain much fat between like retiring and this new prep. That there wasn't any new sort of adipocytes that had to be trained to lose their body fat. So I'm probably in a lucky case that better efficiency, and so I could get away with eating more. Because I mean, my weight this morning was 85 kilos, which is I think 180 something pounds.